that sounded familiar, you're probably at the right place. Namaste, mera naam hai John. My name's John, and this is Learn What John's Learning. Today we're going to be learning a bhajan, or South Asian devotional song, and it's a very famous one. It's one of the first ones I learned. It's called Achyutam Keshavam. It's a Krishna bhajan. And if you want to learn to pronounce it and you're not familiar with the languages that it's in, that's the whole point of this video. Okay, so on this side of the screen, the left side, we have it in Hindi and Sanskrit, which one line of it, like the one that repeats, the refrain, is in Sanskrit, or Sanskrit, which is how I used to say it. And then over here we have it in the Latin alphabet, so you can read it if you don't know what this is, all right? But it is pretty. All right, so the first line is Achyutam Keshavam Krishna Damodaram Ramanarayanam, and you just kind of there's a little there that's not written. It's just kind of to help the song flow, I believe, or from the original Sanskrit that's when they used to say it like that. Ramanarayanam, in fact, that's definitely the reason. Janaki Vallabham. All right, sometimes with a V, sometimes with a B. In this, it's got a B here, but this one is a V. Actually, this is how I say it. So that is from Sanskrit, the ancient language of India and South Asia. And then we go switching to Hindi. So this is a language that I understand. All those things that we just said in Sanskrit, though, are different names for Lord Krishna. Krishna is an incarnation of Vishnu, which is just a version of God in Hinduism. So kind of like God living on earth, concept that many religions are familiar with. All right. The first line in Hindi is Kaun kehte he Bhagavan ate nahi. So who says that Bhagavan, which means God or Lord sometimes, ate nahi, doesn't come. Tum mira ke jaise bulate nahi. So you are not calling the way that Mira was, which is a reference to a story. So these are all examples kind of God in the form of Krishna living a human life. It's just kind of sharing stories, basically. Very, very common bhajan, though, and if you do intend on singing in temple, it's a great one to start with. Everyone will know it. So, Kona kehte he Bhagavan ate nahi, tuma mira ke jaise bulate nahi. So, Kona kehte he Bhagavan ate nahi, tum mira ke jaise bulate nahi. And then everyone will repeat that. You can even repeat it, each one of those lines separately. I've heard it done both ways. And that's the first line that isn't the refrain. Then you go right back to the refrain, which is Achyutam Keshavam Krishna Damodaram Ramanarayanam Janaki Vallabham. And I didn't sing that for you, but this is how you'll start. To start the song, you'll say Krishna Kanaya Lal Ki Jai. And then you would sing Achyutam Keshavam Krishna Damodaram Ramanarayanam Janaki Vallabham. And then you would go into the first line, Kon kehte he Bhagavan ate nahi, tuma mira ke jaise bulate nahi. Then go back to the same one. Achyutam Keshavam Krishna Damodaram Ramanarayanam Janaki Vallabham. Then you go to the next line, which is Kona kehte he Bhagavan khate nahi, bera shabari ke jaise khilate nahi. All right, so who says that God doesn't eat? Bera shabari, who's a character, a person in the Srimad Bhagavatam, ke jaise khilate nahi. All right, so like bera shabari, you're not feeding God, okay? This isn't instructions for life. It's just about a story, basically. All right, so if you don't think God eats, then you're not doing it like Ber Shabri. That's basically what it's saying. Okay. And that would go with the same melody. Kona kehte he Bhagavan khate nahi, Ber Shabari ke jaise khilate nahi. Then Achyutam Keshavam Krishna Damodaram Ramanarayanam Janaki Vallabham. Then the next line is Kona kehte he Bhagavan. Here it's written kehta if you read Hindi, but I hear kehte more often, so that's what I go with. Kona kehte he Bhagavan sote nahi, doesn't sleep. Who says God doesn't sleep? Ma Yashoda, Mother Yashoda, ke jaise sulate nahi. So kona kehte hai Bhagavan sote nahi. Ma Yashoda ke jaise sulate nahi. So sote is to sleep, and then sulate is to make sleep, or to like kind of sing a lullaby or put someone to sleep. This is when Krishna was a little boy. Then we go back to the same chorus, Achyutam Keshavam. Then the next line is Kona kehte hai Bhagavan nachte nahi, who says God doesn't dance. Gopiyon ki tarha tum nachate nahi. So the gopis, in this case gopiyon is the plural, were the women who took care of cows and collected milk and I was going to say sold it, but dispersed it to the community in the way that they would have back then. I don't know a lot about the economics of the Vedic world, or even before then, but he danced with them, and according to my understanding and from when I read it in the Srimad Bhagavatam, basically he danced with them, being God and kind of having all the powers that God has. He danced with each of them individually, like made multiple versions of himself, so that they all felt like they were dancing with him. And it's kind of a metaphor for the way we're all sort of dancing with God in this physical form that we're in. All right, then we say Achyutam Keshavam Krishna Damodaram Ramanarayanam Janaki Vallabham again. Then we sing. This is a change in the pattern of the song. Basically, now we're gonna. It's not about who says who can do what and what God can do. It's just Nama Japate Chalo Kama Karte Chalo, which means we'll chant his name and we'll do the work. Har Same Krishna Ka Dhyana Karte Chalo. So each time we'll focus on or meditate on. Dhyan means focus or meditate. Karte Chalo. So we'll focus on Lord Krishna. So Nama Japate Chalo Kama Karte Chalo Har Same Krishna Ka Dhyana Karte Chalo. Then back to Achyutam Keshavam, the refrain. We're getting near the end now. This is an interesting line. It's Yad aayegi unko kabhi na kabhi. Krishna darshan to denge kabhi na kabhi. So Yad aayegi unko kabhi na kabhi. Krishna darshan to denge kabhi na kabhi. This is basically saying that he'll remember from time to time, meaning Krishna, meaning God, which is an interesting philosophical, I think it could spark an interesting theological debate about, does God ever forget us? Is that just a metaphor? Or when God takes a form, whether that's like a god or a god lowercase g, or a deva, as we would say in Hinduism. It's a different word from Brahman or Bhagavan, which means God, which can be very confusing when we talk about polytheism and monotheism and what the real difference is. So whatever reason, we say he'll remember every once in a while, and then the darshan of Krishna, like a view or a glimpse of Krishna, will happen every once in a while. So I don't know if those of you, whatever religion you practice, I'm sure many of you are Hindu, you may have a feeling every once in a while, like for just a microsecond, you felt a glimpse of God. That's what darshan is. There's kind of in a traditional sense, the idea that you make eye contact with God, the form of God. Okay, again, the more like symbolic form that a God might take, as a lowercase g God. And so that idea of having a glimpse of God, to me, it means, a very powerful divine feeling that happens for like a microsecond, which could happen during meditation or while listening to music or other spiritual practice. And to me, it's a contrast with a long-term feeling of close to God, which is more like samadhi, which is like several days of where you feel close to God. That's me mixing what I've read, mixed with personal experience, though. Either way, the idea is you get a glimpse of God every once in a while if we keep chanting his name and doing the work, referring back to the previous line. And then we end the song. Achyutam Keshavam Krishna Damodaram Ramanarayanam Janaki Vallabham. And rather than just sing the whole thing for you, I'll just do that last line. We'll do the Sanskrit line, the Hindi line, and the Sanskrit line, and then you would end it by repeating it. All right, so it would be like this. I got a little sharp. Achyutam Keshavam Krishna Damodaram Ramanarayanam Janaki Vallabham. And everyone repeats. Then याद आएगी उनको कभी ना कभी, कृष्ण दर्शन तो देंगे कभी ना कभी. अच्युतम केशवम कृष्ण दामोदरम राम नारायणम जानकी vallabham. Everyone will repeat. Then you would say Rama Narayanam Janaki Vallabham, Rama Narayanam Janaki Vallabham. The drumming will end, and then you'll say Krishna Kanaya Lala Ki Jai. All right, thank you so much for checking out this video. Jai Sri Krishna.